less than a day now until All Blacks v Namibia at Rugby World Cup 2023 being played in Toulouse, and only one side must Toulouse. Yeah, I know, pathetic, eh? Okie dokie, dad jokes for the win, and I am a dad, and some people think I am a joke, but anyway, getting to the point. So the side's been named at 23, and as I considered, in another matter, in a related matter, because I don't know if you've looked at the World Cup draw, but it seems to be extended, and apparently in, I think it was 2021, an extra week was added to provide, so that there wouldn't be any contests too closely related. So you'd have a decent break, is what I'm trying to say. Itching my neck, I know. Great visuals. It's raining in New Zealand. It was blowing yesterday and now it's raining. Hey. It's a place to be. So the All Blacks have named me 23. After this, they have 2 weeks off until Italy. Italy now has taken on greater importance than maybe it had previously been. If they had beaten France, then no, just the confidence of that and the reality of that would have meant you wouldn't be thinking twice about Italy. Now you know if something goes absolutely to custard, a red card or 2 or whatever against Italy, and you just don't know what can transpire. Sometimes things find you when you least desire them, or when you least desire to be found. So when I thought about this All Blacks 23 for Namibia after France, in light of 2 weeks until Italy, I was like, to me that's continuity. Mostly keep the team together. Mostly give them another run. Allow them the opportunity to get some combinations. We know what happened in the first 2 weeks, or the first 2 matches of the Rugby Championship. The All Blacks found form, and the third one when they made changes against Australia and Dunedin. Well, that would have been the fourth one, actually. The first three, excuse me. And then the fourth, it didn't go well. They won, but they had to have some returning men off the bench who added and provided the impetus to get over the winning line. And so I am thinking, with 2 weeks to go until Italy, when this match is played, then some players, well, there's obviously players who are out, who've been out, and may not even make Italy. So we understand that. Maybe Geordie Barrett will be back, maybe Shannon Frizzell will be back, maybe Tyrell Lomax will be back. Who knows there? But those who have played against France will have 3 weeks off until they play Italy. I'm thinking of Will Jordan and Mark Telea, who, even though one of them didn't have their best test match, surely will be starting versus Italy. And as I look down at the squad, well, they're not even in there. And so they've made so many changes to this 23 as I go through. And I believe it was 12, if my memory serves me right. Maybe that number's wrong. Maybe it was 13. Just trying to look through and see if there's any type of information there. And I'm still looking down, and you're looking at me, and I'm not looking at you, and that's getting awkward. So the fact that they've made those changes to me is a surprise. That's the larger reality, as I would have gone with continuity. It's great. Test match for Sam Whitelock, equaling Richie McCaw's 148 test mark. And probably the biggest commentary for me when I look at this side, because again, I mean, you've got a squad of 33, so you're going to make changes with players. It's not like, well, gee, I didn't expect him to come in. Well, he's part of the squad, so he's always going. The potential is there. The one that stands out for me, or the couple of areas. No, an area and a player. An area is what's happening in the front row, and the player is Tamaiti Williams. If you look here, there's no Tamaiti Williams. So the All Blacks are starting Ofatunga Fasi and Nipo Lalala. So a Blues combination, and Samisoni Takiaho. Now when Tyrell Lomax comes back, it seems like that's going to be the front row that comes off the bench. Seems like they've decided, and they're on the ground, and they know Jace Ryan will be the one in the coaching staff who'll be really engaging in this area and passing it on. But I think that the test match at Twickenham is probably spooked, not necessarily in a negative way, or maybe illuminated, maybe highlighted where Tamaiti Williams, maybe in particular, maybe just needs more time in the saddle, in their opinion, needs more test matches. Because they put both Tamaiti Williams and Fletcher Newell on the bench there. And I think, as it was my estimation, that could be the way forward, and to have young guys coming off who can elevate. But maybe they got a bit of a wake-up call about whether or not they were ready, especially Tamaiti Williams. Fletcher Newell's been around and has been part of it, but Tyrell Lomax was injured, obviously, for France. So he's on the bench, Fletcher Newell and Ethan de Groot. However, the two props there who are starting, and on the other is Dane Coles, the replacement hooker. So giving Cody Taylor a rest. But that's probably what stands out for me the most, is what they're doing with the front row. What commentary that says about the All Blacks' performance, not only in France, or versus France, in France, but where they want to give more time. I mean, Brody Retallick and Samuel Whitelock, fine, second row, so much experience. Luke Jacobson, Dalton Papali'i, and Ardie Savea, that's interesting. No Ethan Blackadder, which, people were talking about, he's flown them over, but I don't mind that. I mean, I'm a big Ethan Blackadder fan, but you want to give the guys who you've picked the opportunity, even though Ethan Blackadder, James Parsons pointed it out on the Aotearoa Rugby Pod, that Blackadder was in front of probably Jacobson and even potentially Dalton Papali'i as well back in the day. So injuries have nobbled Blackadder, and if he stays fit, then not surprised when it comes to knockout time that he finds a place in the 23. But he's not there. So you've got Jacobson, Papali'i and Savea captaining the side. One of the big ones and the big talking points been Cam Roigard starting at halfback, which is great to see. If he has a good test match, and I expect he will, then I've had him in my 23 off the bench all along, and I expect that to only grow through in toward Italy and then the knockouts. Starting at first five, starting at fly half, depending where you come from, is Damian McKenzie. So that's another one. Giving him time in the saddle there, but also I think there'll be he'll get plenty of time mixing and matching with Beauden Barrett. So maybe running from the back at fullback, which Mo'unga does as well. And he is one who I think could have an introduction or reintroduction to the All Blacks 23, the top All Blacks 23. There is a potential there. Obviously Barrett and Mo'unga, 10 and 15, but both can play 10. So Damian McKenzie, do you have him there when you've got other guys who can play 15 like Will Jordan? But he does have the X factor, the ability to break open a game. If someone, I think of a test match in South Africa a couple of years ago now, maybe more than that, and he was a difference maker and able to find space. So D-Mac McKenzie is one there. And the other names, it is interesting to see what the All Blacks do in terms of their back three, whether or not they'll have, I don't think they'll have a second thoughts on Beauden Barrett. But if you did have second thoughts, then, and Will Jordan was 15, and then Mark Telea's on one wing, then the other wing is probably going to be Lester Fainga'anuku. And you do have some bang and some bust there. But again, that's something. Again, Caleb Clark's playing, so he's been another who has started throughout the season. And Anton Leonard-Brown and David Havili in the midfield. Replacements, Dane Coles, Ethan de Groot, Fletcher Newell, Scott Barrett, Tupu Vai'i, Aaron Smith, Richard Mo'unga, and Rieko Ioane. So that's a 23. A surprising 23 for me in the sense of I would have given it continuity. I would have said, okay, you've had the French test. Now build on that, maybe makes a few changes, but nothing too significant. You can make changes even, someone like Mark Telea, who's had a really good test match, maybe he, it's a good time for him to sit down. And some other places, maybe Ethan de Groot. Although, yeah, it's an interesting one for de Groot, whether or not it was better for him to get out there. But 3 weeks without playing rugby is a little bit too long for mine. So, too long, to lose. Forget about it. Bad joke. So that's the All Blacks 23. They're playing tomorrow morning after Uruguay, reason you'd say push France more than what you'd expect in terms of the scoreboard at least, and Namibia will offer. They should be really physical. They should be those who are reflective of their geography and their connections and influences. They should have a good deal of physicality. The All Blacks will want to play with speed and want to control, bash, and then bust. And if they do that, then the scoreboard should be comfortable enough. Anyway, that's my thoughts. The All Blacks 23 for Namibia. What do you think? Are you surprised? Are you a little bit unsure what's going on? Maybe that's true for a lot of us. Anyway, time will tell. It's not all over yet. Only game 2. And we can see with what's happening with injuries, it's hard to think that any side will go through, any nation will go through without losing some players. And maybe that will be the difference maker. Which side that can remain healthy through to the end? Because if some nations lose certain players, you think, and for me, Ireland's one with Johnny Sexton. If Johnny Sexton goes down, that's pretty hard. That seems like it's a deal breaker. May not be, but we can only judge from perception. We can only project out of that frame of reference. So, who knows what will transpire when it gets really important, knockout time, and teams are able to survive, but yet are they able to survive intact? And that may be the difference. What say you? I am Johnny King.